Well, Matt, you've been doing this for a while now. First of all, how fun is it to come to places, especially like Indiana, that has not had any tradition in football, and now it is off the charts?
This is no longer a basketball school, guys. It's a football school. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, no, it is. It's so much fun, and really, first of all, like Coach Signetti and what he's done this year is remarkable. The turnaround, and we talked about in our meeting. We're just like you watch a lot of film, and you're like, are they like damn, they're pretty good. Like they're well, like this is a good football team, and so what he's done in building is pretty special. And to answer your question, we love it. We love, like, you know, we go to Michigans and Ohio States, and we go to these big schools all the time, and that's fine. But we love when we get a chance to cover stories like this, and when there's a buzz and there's an energy around a program that maybe hasn't been there for a long time. So for us as like college football fans, we love being here. The team is really good. This is a big game this weekend. Nebraska is a really good team. Like, this is kind of a measuring stick for both teams to kind of see what they do the rest of the season. So we're happy to be here. The energy already, you can kind of feel it just talking to some of the students. Like, they're not used to this. So like, I think it's a really cool thing. And just a shout out to the guys on the team. They're playing their butts off. They work hard. Good fun, all those things, and it's shown on the film.
A lot of talk about Signetti this week. How about is there anything that stands out about the job Matt Rhule's doing at Nebraska?
I mean, Matt Rhule is a program builder. He's been doing that his whole career, especially at the collegiate level. I'm a huge fan of Matt Rhule and how he develops team. And, you know, I think in this industry, you get to know a lot of coaches, and you get to hear a lot of coaches, and he's just one of those guys that you're like, man, he's a great dude. He's a great coach. He gets the most out of his team. Every player's love to play for him. And it's shown up too. And like Nebraska's, I mean, talk about a storied program. Nebraska, that's one of the teams that I grew up watching, you know, the Tommy Frazier era. Mm-hmm. And so he's bringing that back to one of the true blue bloods in our sport. And it's a heck of a football team. He's recruiting really well. They got a young quarterback there for the next couple of years who's a stud. So he's done a really good job.
Hey, Matt, outside of Oregon, I mean, the transition for these Pac-12 teams has been, you know, a challenge.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
What are your thoughts on just how some of these teams have transitioned, and kind of what's the feel back on the West Coast?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, you know, like I think Signetti, I think it's like, when do they fly in? Is it better to come in super late? I think that's what Signetti did, right? They just get off the plane, eat, go to bed, and go play. And as some schools will go a day early, you know, to get accustomed to the time change. So I think that was the biggest part. I think I talked to James Franklin about that this summer. Was like, just, it's new for everybody. So getting accustomed to a new schedule, whether it's East Coast coming to West or West coming to East. But it certainly showed up in kind of the wins and losses. You know, a lot of these teams have struggled to win when they have to travel a certain amount of miles or whatever. So I think at the end of the day, like, there are no excuses. At the end of the day, you go out and you play football, and you know, these guys are young. I remember I traveled a bunch, whether it was in the NFL or not so much in college, but the NFL, and you just go out and you play and you do your job. So, but it has taken a toll. I think you're sitting around a lot. The time change. I know with us, I tell my wife makes fun of me, but we're West Coast, obviously, so we go every Thursday, and we're back on Saturdays. At least I am, and I go from Pacific to East Coast twice a week, every week for 4 months, and it really screws me up, you know. And I can imagine playing like that, you know. So I understand it. So it's something I think they'll just get used to as this continues to happen.
What are your impressions of Curtis Rourke? What impresses you when you put on his film and watch it?
Yeah, I mean, he's really good. I mean, you know, he's had quite the journey. Injuries and obviously transfers and all that kind of stuff, and now, you know, going from kind of a runner to now just a pocket guy, which is really just shows honestly the type of talent he is, the athlete he is. He's one of those guys on film, like, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He can make all the throws from the pocket. Whereas you look at some of these other guys, they're a little more dynamic and all this, but they get themselves in trouble. Like, he's steady back there, you know, and he's a big reason why they're undefeated in this position. This game, this will be a true test because Nebraska's D is really good, and really for both quarterbacks. But Nebraska's D, they're physical, they're very good on all three levels. They will get tested. So I'm actually interested to see how he handles this environment. I know they're at home, but that defense is really good. So.
Hey Matt, they as a media corps, we're kind of struck by Dylan Raiola's maturity.
Yeah.
How does that show up on film? Do you see it on film?
It showed up last week. I mean, or 2 weeks ago when they played Rutgers. You know, they're coming off a bye, but they won 14-7, kind of a crappy game, all defensive game. Offensively, he didn't have a great game. I think it was like 130 yards, a bad interception. But you just, in those, as a quarterback, I know it's like, you're not going to have great games, especially young. You're still growing, you're still developing, like you're still seeing things for the first time. But in that game, he made throws. You're like, well, that's why he was a top player. Like he still makes throws like that. And usually in young players, when you're struggling as an offense, you can kind of just get a feel for that. Like he was grinding. He was still leading that team. They were grinding as an offense. And honestly, I think it's going to be a lot of the same tomorrow. You know, I think it's going to be against Indiana's defense, who's really good. So I think that's the poise, the composure, the leadership for a young player. And again, it's bloodlines. His dad played. Like he was kind of built for this. You know, like that he was built for that, to play football. And he's really, really talented. Like he's gonna be carving up defenses here in the Big Ten for the next couple of years. So
Matt, obviously college football is built on a lot of transfer portal talk now, and there's been a lot of talk about Indiana being rebuilt on the portal. But the fact that they've done this with mostly mid-level guys, Curtis Rourke come from Ohio, Miles Cross, Surratt, all these guys come from the mid-levels, and yet they're doing what they've done.
So there's a thing. They have 44 players on this team that didn't have a single star out of high school, right? And we can stars, whatever, but they didn't have a single star. So wherever they came from, they were barely getting recruited to play college ball. If you think about that, it's wild, right? And then you think all of those kids going on their path, they end up here, whether it's first year, second year, third year, and now they're playing like they were a 4-star recruit. That goes to coaching, it goes to development, it goes to a lot of these kids playing with a chip on their shoulder. And again, a lot of times you can look at the portal in a negative light and what it's done, and justifiably so, but then we do need to look at the portal in a positive light and what it's done for this program and the players and the opportunity that it's given to these kids who have found a home, who have found a coaching staff that believes in them and is getting the most out of them. And that's, like, to me, that's just the biggest story about Indiana. Like, it's a feel-good story with a really good football team too. And it's pretty wild when you look at the roster, how it's made up, and you're like, damn, like they're playing really high level, it's awesome, man. It's really cool.
Is there anybody on that? You mentioned Nebraska defense, and even if it's a number, is there anybody that stands out in your mind? Any couple players that stand out, even if there's numbers?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just up front they're really physical. I mean, I think that's the strength. That's to me kind of what I'm looking at tomorrow is, you know, again, this is Indiana's toughest test for sure, in my opinion. You know, Nebraska's played Illinois as a physical game. They've had a little more tests. This one, to me, up front for Indiana's offensive line has been good. No one really in particular. I just think they're gonna get tested, man. And this is a true test for Indiana. And you guys probably know this. They'll probably be favored in every game moving forward outside of Ohio State. So that doesn't really answer your question, but in general, like, this is the game really for both teams, because Nebraska's got Ohio State next week.
Yes,
right. I think we'll be at that game. Yeah, but
you get them 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I know. We might be back here later in the fall.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see. So,
Matt,
you guys good? Yeah.
You were here 2 years ago for the Michigan game.
Yeah.
Obviously, was more for Michigan. Now Indiana's a 6-0 team. What are the vibe changes from that a couple years ago to today?
Yeah, I mean, just energy, the buzz. You can already feel it even here, just with the turnout. Homecoming weekend, people are excited, and I said earlier, it's just a really good team. It's a great story with a really good football team. They got a coach who is a little fiery and a little brash, and kind of like he's just created this buzz, I think, that they haven't had in a long time. You know, so we're pumped to be here. Again, a couple of years ago, it just felt it was like a ghost town, right? It was Michigan came in, and big bad Michigan came in. This year, it just feels different, and it's a big game for both teams. So,
last one, do you think an 11-1 Indiana team, if they were able to get to that
they're
mark,
100% in the playoff?
Yes.
Oh, 11-1? Yeah. I would say even maybe 10-2. That's I'm gonna say tomorrow. That's the beauty of the 12-team playoff. It's giving teams like Indiana, it's giving other teams opportunity to potentially have a seat at the table, which is all you could ever ask for. So, yeah, I mean, again, a lot can happen, obviously, in the next 6-7 weeks, but a 10-2, 11-1 Indiana team, I imagine it'd be hard to leave one of those teams out, you know. So,
Thanks, Matt.
all right, guys.